Welcome back to the Federal Retirement Show. I'm your host, Val Majewski with American Benefits Exchange. And as always, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me and to view our content. That's what it's here for. It's for you, the federal employee that's looking for accurate information when it comes to your benefits and retirement situation. Before I get started, I just want to encourage you to view all of our other content. We have so many episodes out there and so many different topics that we've discussed over the years on the Federal Retirement Show. I highly encourage you to go back and view all of that content. There's probably an answer to a question that you might have in some of the episodes that we've given, if not in just one episode, but multiple episodes. And if you cannot find your question answered in any of the content, any of the episodes that we have, please reach out to us. You can go to federalretirementshow.com, fill out the form, and one of our experts out there, if it's not me personally, will reach out to you to review your benefits and retirement situation and get all of your questions answered. So as I said, the Federal Retirement Show, the goal of this podcast, radio show, wherever you're listening to it, whether it's on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, you're seeing us on YouTube or our website. The goal of us putting this out there is so we can help you, the federal employee that's looking for information. As I mentioned, why do we do this? Why? Because we find that most federal employees are very uninformed when it comes to this information, and you just want to be able to find it without having to find a hassle involved with it, right? You want to make sure that you can get to the point, find your answer so you can make the best decisions, because there is not a rule book for you that you first get when you get hired and say, follow these instructions step by step so that you can plan properly both during your career and into retirement. And we get asked a ton of questions about, how do I properly plan for retirement? What should I do? What are the pitfalls? What are the mistakes I need to avoid? And we try to do our best to guide each and every individual, because there is no blanket statement that says, this is the way to do it. This is the best way to go about it. Everybody's situation is different. And what your individual needs are different than the person that works next to you, and so on and so forth. So that brings me to today's topic and conversations that I've been having with federal employees about the potential need for some sort of long-term care planning. Now, it does not mean, when I say long-term care plan, that you need to go out and buy a long-term care insurance plan. Maybe your plan does. But when it comes to federal employees and long-term care, you're falling into the same category as the rest of us out there, those that are not federal employees, and the need for long-term care insurance, or at least a long-term care type plan. And I get asked this a lot because the federal employee, the federal long-term care insurance program is not the way it used to be, right? They're no longer taking applications. It's a group plan. It's not individualized. And, in the end, people want to make sure that they're covered and that their loved ones aren't burdened. And that's one of the things I'll get into here in a second. But let me go over some stats with you real quick. And this is stats, right? Depends on where you get them, but you can generally see and where I look about stats when it comes to folks that may need some sort of long-term care plan. 7 out of 10, 70% of individuals will at some point need some form of long-term care. 70%, 7 out of 10. Now, if you're thinking, I'm not going to be part of that, I'm going to be in the 30% that never needs anything, good for you. But I know if I had a 70% chance of winning something, I know those are pretty good odds. And this isn't necessarily the gift that you want to win, but you want to be prepared if you fall into this situation, right? So 70% out of everybody will need some sort of long-term care plan. Now, 20% of people, that's not 20% of the 70%, but 20%, so 2 out of every 10, so 7 out of every 10 will need a long-term care plan. 2 out of every 10 will need long-term care or a plan for long-term care for more than 5 years. More than 5 years, that's a long time when I get into some of these other numbers about ensuring that you have some sort of plan in place. And we'll get to that. Now, what is the average duration of a long-term care type plan? Now, what I mean by that is, or needing a long-term care plan. Now, how long would you need it? How long are you typically going to be in this scenario? And what does a long-term care scenario mean, by the way? I'm going to back up a second because I should have covered this at the beginning. So needing some sort of long-term care or needing a plan for this essentially is saying you're unable to perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, and you're going to need somebody to care for you, or you're going to need somebody to help you with eating, bathing, toileting, moving around, all of these things that people that you see in nursing homes or facilities or having at home care require. Now, the duration is different for men and women, but let's say for men, the average stay is about 2.2 years. 2.2 years average long-term care situation for men, 3.7 years. This is based on a survey done, statistics that are provided by HHS. So your government agency, these are stats provided by HHS. 3.7 for women, 2.2 years for men. But 2 out of every 10, as I mentioned, will need something for more than 5 years. Now, why is this important? Because of the cost of long-term care. And if you don't have a proper plan in place, you can't just say, my kids are going to take care of me or my spouse is going to take care of me, because you don't exactly know what that burden is unless you've gone through a long-term care scenario yourself. And I saw it personally in my own family. When I first got into the business of helping folks with different financial and insurance plans, the first person I wanted to help was my grandmother. And unfortunately, she was too far along with her diagnosis that she could no longer get the long-term care plan that I thought would be great for her. So it's kind of that saying, like, once you need it, you can't get it. So it's something you have to prepare in advance for, whether it's buying a plan or an insurance policy, or just setting a plan in place. So when you do have this scenario arise or occur, that there's not any burdens, there's not any worries, there's not any doubts, because the financial implication can be huge. Now, this is talking about nursing home stays. Okay. Nursing home stays. Most people are like, well, I'll go into a nursing home. Do you know how much a nursing home costs? Costs on average, now depending on the location, but let's say $116,000 per year. $116,000 per year. And we just said the average for men is 2.2 years needing long-term care. 3.7 for women. 3.7, that's over $400,000, essentially, right? That you're going to need with this long-term care type plan. For men, even if it's $250,000 approximately, that's a lot of money if you're not properly prepared. And you can't just think, oh, I'm going to drain my assets or I'll go on Medicaid. Medicaid doesn't kick in until you're way down in your assets. So you drain all of your resources, and then the state is going to start picking stuff up. And it may not be the best care that you're looking for. So having a plan in place is key. If you're in an assisted living, not just a full nursing home, that can be $60,000 per year. Home health aid, $70,000 per year, if not more. And I will tell you, that was the situation that my grandmother was in. She was too far gone, couldn't get a long-term care policy, traditional long-term care policy, and had to drain her assets that my grandfather had set up for her. And she had a 24-hour live-in aid. She couldn't do things by herself. She had to have somebody living at her place 24/7. And when that person had to take a break, then we had to have family members come in and pick up the slack, right, during those times where she needed off, where the home health aid needed off. So understand those resources can go pretty quick at those prices. And if you don't have a plan in place, then this can be draining your own assets, or you can become a burden to other folks when it comes to those needs. So the proper plan, and why am I saying this? Because I want you as a federal employee or in a future retiree to live a long and prosperous, healthy retirement. And that's everybody's goal, right? You want to live long in retirement. You want to be healthy in retirement. You want to enjoy retirement. And there's a person that talks to retirees. He's an expert out there, and he talks about 3 stages of retirement. 3 stages of retirement. When you first get retired, or you first retire, those are what he calls the go-go years. Go-go years. And what that means is you're so excited for retirement, you can't wait to go, and you want to get everything done. You want to travel the world, play golf every day, go visit family. You're generally in better health at that time. And this is, again, general statement. And then as things start to go into retirement, you're into stage 2. And those are the slow go years, as he calls it, meaning things aren't working as well, and you're going to have to slow down. And you're not, maybe your health is going south, or just physically you can't move like you used to, you can't travel like you used to, or you just don't want to. Then in the end, you can be in the 3rd stage, which is the no-go years. And that's where long-term care can come into play, because you may not be able to do things on your own. You may need assistance. You may need help. Now, the goal is, if you can stay in the go-go your entire time, awesome. But But you have to have a proper plan in place for the what ifs. What if things slow down, and what if you can't go anywhere? How are you going to do this? So what are some things and some reasons why you should look into setting yourself up with some sort of long-term care type plan? And what does that mean? That means you can actually buy a long-term care plan, individual policy. You can get some long-term care alternatives, which is not just a standard long-term care. It could be life insurance combined with long-term care. It can be a retirement savings plan combined with long-term care. Or you can have not a plan at all, an official plan. You can self-insure that, right? You can personally fund it. Now, that's not something I want to see a lot of people do, because when it comes to putting the burden on somebody, they'd rather put the burden and the expense on the insurance company or the plan provider rather than having to fund it entirely themselves. But that's also an option, to self-insure. It may not be the best one, but it's another option. Now, why would you want to do this? Number one, we've already talked about the cost. Protect your assets, protect your retirement savings, transfer the liability, transfer the risk to a company that provides these plans, whether it is a standalone long-term care plan, a life insurance with long-term care, an asset-based long-term care plan, rather than trying to fund that yourself, because the money can run out if you try to fund it yourself, where if you get a plan designed properly, maybe the money does not run out and it will go for as long as you may need. If you're one of those 2 of 10 people that might need long-term care for more than 5 years, that plan can be very useful for you. Also, avoid burdening family, right? Avoid burdening family. Some people say, hey, my kids will take care of it. Well, have you had that discussion with your kids? Have you talked about this plan with them? Are they aware of it? Do they not have families and things of their own that they need to take care of, jobs? What if you can have the plan completely taken care of? The worry is off of them. The worry is off of you. You're not going to be burdening them, no matter how sick or whatever your situation looks like. It's not going to be having your family take care of you, right? Having them change you, bathe you, do those things that might be embarrassing for you. You can have a plan in place that will allow you, the comfort, the peace of mind, knowing that those things are not going to be burdens to your family. It allows you to maintain independence and control. So what is the reason for getting a plan in place? If the family is not involved, if they're not the ones that are your caretakers, you can have a plan that is designed for you, and you can have a plan that allows you to maintain your independence. It doesn't mean that you have to go into a facility. It doesn't mean that you have to go into a nursing care place. You can get stuff in the comfort of your own home. They can come to you. And those are what some of these traditional plans will allow you to do. And even these alternative plans will allow you to have home health care, and it will be paid for and provided for by the company. You said you're transferring the risk to the company that's going to take care of the liability you have if you're in a long-term care scenario. You're not paying for this yourself. And they give you the flexibility, depending on the plan you designed, to have that care in the comfort of your own home. Not only protecting your family, but also protecting your spouse, right? These long-term care scenarios, I've seen a lot of them. I've talked to federal employees whose spouses are in them. I talked to one of my federal employee clients. She retired. Her husband had Alzheimer's dementia. It was getting bad, and it seemed like worse each and every day, week, month, year that I talked to her. And it was draining in her retirement, taking care of her husband. Now, luckily, she did have a plan in place, and she was able to get him into a nice facility where she can go visit. But it was a mental and physical strain on her retirement, because as she was getting older, so was her husband. And as they were getting older, he needed more care and physical care, being picked up and put into a chair, or moved into a wheelchair, or picked up and put into a vehicle to get transported to a doctor's appointment, things like that. The plan that she had and the facility that she put her husband in did all of that now for her. So as her health and her age got older, and her strength went down, she wasn't able to do that physically herself anymore. So now she was able to use her plan so her husband can get taken care of, and she can regain some of that freedom herself. So not just for you, but this is also for your spouses, right? Ensuring that you're getting them taken care of as well. It helps reduce stress. Now with that, right, it's eliminating burdens. It's helping out your spouse, your family, but it alleviates stress for you and worry and doubt. What's going to happen? Oh my gosh, I didn't plan on my health going this way or that way. The good news is you've planned for this. You've got a plan in place. In the same way you should plan for your retirement, you have to plan for what happens in retirement. And by putting aside some of the money or transferring some of the risk over to another company to allow for that benefit, it can reduce your stress. Not only reduce your overall cost over time, but reduce that stress. And then we talk about legacy and estate prevention. Uh, what am I trying to say? Not prevention, preservation is what I mean. Legacy and estate preservation is another reason why you should look into having some sort of long-term care plan. Because if your goal is to leave something to your family or to make sure that your spouse is covered in the event that something happens to you, you want to ensure that that's going to happen and make sure that all of your assets are not going to go to your care. And then if something happens to you in the end, there's nothing left that your spouse can continue living the lifestyle they want to live. That can only happen if you have a plan in place. And I say not only, but if you end up going into a long-term care scenario and you're winging it and you're unsure about how you're going to pay for it, well, there can be a big medical bill. There can be a big expense. There can be a big facility, depending on where you live, that can drain all of your assets. And then there might not be anything left for your spouse. So to ensure, I-N-sure and E-N-sure, to ensure that your spouse and your family are not going to have any burdens, worries, doubts, you're not going to be stressed out about it, then it's wise to insure your health and future by using some sort of long-term care plan. Now, again, we've talked about this in the past, but it's just come up recently about why this is necessary because the cost of care is continually going up. Your FEHB is only going to get you so far. Medicare is only going to get you so far. If you're in a facility, that's not going to be taken care of unless you have a proper plan in place. And I encourage you to look into it. And I mentioned a couple of things. There are traditional long-term care plans, which usually are just going to pay for your long-term care need if you're in that situation. Then there are some hybrid plans, right? I said there's life insurance with long-term care. That covers you also and pays a death benefit if you die while getting long-term care and there's money left over, or if you die prior to using your long-term care benefit. Then there's also asset-based long-term care where you can take a portion of your money and set that aside where it can be multiplied, right? You take a portion, set it aside, and it provides a bigger benefit, a multiple of 2 or 3 times the amount that can be used for long-term care, as well as providing a death benefit to your family if there's money left over. Then the last way that people have done it right is a self-insure. I don't see that as much, but if you're worried about long-term care, or if you've experienced a long-term care scenario like I have with my grandmother, perhaps you have an emotional connection to it and you say, I don't want to do that to my family. I want to make sure that I'm taken care of and it's not something that's a burden for them, either financially or time consuming or physically, burdening to them. So these are the things that are coming up in conversations with federal employees recently when it comes to preparing for retirement. It's not just the financial, it's not ensuring that you've got all your ducks in a row, you're using the new online retirement application properly, you're making all the right choices. It's outside of that. Are you protecting your family's future, your future, in case something happens? And the good news is the old school plans used to be either you use it or you lose it, meaning I put all this money towards this long-term care plan, and what happens if I die? That money just might be lost. The newer plans out there, these hybrid type plans that you should look into, and in my opinion, at least look into, right? It's to know all of your options. It may not be the best fit for you, but you got to know all of your options and determine if it's a good fit for you and your family. But these new hybrid plans, there is not just a use or lose component. There can be a death benefit component. There can be a return of premium component. It's not just throw your money at it and it's gone if you don't use it. There's more flexibility with the plans that are out there nowadays. So, talk to, an expert. When you reach out to us, you go to our website, federalretirementshow.com, fill out the form. If this is a question that you have, make sure that the expert that reaches out to you, again, if it's not me personally, you ask them about, hey, can you show me my long-term care plan options? Or I'm interested in designing a long-term care plan that's right for me and my family. We'll sit down, we'll iron out all the details and see if it's a good fit for you. But having that plan, right? You plan for retirement, you plan to do these certain things. You want to have all the money, all the assets, all the things in retirement. But what if something happens? Are you covered? What if? Are you covered? What is your plan then? And I wouldn't want you to get to that scenario and not have something in place And as we mentioned before, now we're a burden on our spouse, our family, our finances, resources, all of those things. So reach out to us one more time, federalretirementshow.com. View all the other content that we have, as I mentioned earlier. And lastly, do not keep us a secret. Okay, if you like it, if you get notified that we have a new episode, if you're subscribing to the Federal Retirement Show, tell somebody else to, bring a friend, invite a colleague, tell them, hey, this is a podcast that's helped me. You should start viewing it as well. And the more federal employees we can help, the better. So again, my name is Val Majewski with American Benefits Exchange. You've been watching the Federal Retirement Show, and we look forward to seeing you on a future episode.